Well, hello, welcome back to irishracing.com and our day 3 preview of the Cheltenham Festival 2023, sponsored by Bet365. Once again, I'm joined by Emma Nagle and Ed Quigley to run through the card for you. We're off to the new course now on day 3. So Ed, just talk a little bit about the conditions and how that could potentially suit certain horses looking at day 3.
Yeah, as a general rule, Joe, the new course, more of a stamina-inducing course. The old course, the slightly tighter track, a bit more relative speed test here, more of a galloping test, especially on that hurdles course. As we know, it's kind of been laboured into infinity, but only 2 flights of hurdles jumped in the last 7 furlongs, long winding stretch to the last. So a lot of horses can kind of gather momentum there. So as a general rule, if you didn't already want stayers at Cheltenham, you will need stayers at Cheltenham for the Thursday and the Friday, and especially as you alluded to, the fact a lot of rain due. We're recording this on the Wednesday. A lot of rain due late Wednesday into early hours of Thursday morning. Around 10 millimetres, depending on which weather forecast you look at. So although it generally rides a little bit quicker on the new course, it is fresh ground. And there was a bit of good to soft floating around on the new course at the time of recording. I wouldn't be shocked if we're looking at kind of soft ground all over if the weather forecasts are accurate and materialise.
Yeah, and given those conditions as well, Emma, I mean, which race in particular are you most looking forward to on day 3?
I'm looking forward to seeing Mighty Potter on the first, obviously. The Ryanair is an interesting one as well. You know, Shishkin, brilliant horse, obviously. Looking forward to seeing can he back it up. But I think the Stairs is probably the takeaway race of the day. It's just such a hot renewal of it. There's like so many you could give a real chance to. And ground-wise, I mean, it's going to bring a lot of them into it. I don't think it's going to inconvenience too many at the top of the market, at least. But it's going to bring Tiupu into it with a massive chance, I think. So that's it's a vintage renewal, I think, of the Stairs hurdle. Just so many good horses in it, I think.
Yeah, perfect. Well, we will get there later on in the show to the stayers, but we're going to kick off with the Turners, as you kind of suggest, Emma. Mighty Potter, the favourite. But Ed, do you have any kind of negatives about Mighty Potter, or do you think he is just the one to beat in here?
There is a negative. He ran at the Cheltenham Festival last year and he pulled up. I mean, that's a fact. That is a negative. You can't view that any other way. There were stories about perhaps he didn't travel over all that well and he got a little bit... I say a little bit, it's an understatement. He got a bit jiggy, didn't he, in the prelims, sweated up. He went through one of the rails, the barriers in the warm-up when they were saddling in him, and he was all just a bit on edge. Made a horrendous error. I can't remember which flight of hurdles it was, somewhere down the back, and that pretty much was game over. So, in terms of what he's done on the track this season, absolutely no negatives. Well, by and large, I mean, he just looks a machine, doesn't he? He's made a couple of jumping errors, but nothing really of note. Last time out at the Dublin Racing Festival, looked absolutely fantastic. So in terms of what he's achieved over fences this season, no, nothing to crab him on. It's just in the back of my mind, if you're taking even money or there or thereabouts about a horse who's been to the Cheltenham Festival once and didn't even get round. If you're on it, much bigger prices. You know, I think it was 12 to 1 anti-post for this in the early days. Well, good luck to you. You're in a stunning position. But I think he's the most likely winner. But any resemblance of value to find out has evaporated naturally.
Yeah, and Emma, speaking of value angles, have you got anything else in this race, or do you just like the look of Mighty Potter here?
It's kind of hard to see it now, to be honest. I was giving Bamberg a bit of a shout, but as the rain keeps coming down, I think it's going to take away from his chances even more. You know, he's a horse who would really love the spring ground. At the same time, he does love the hill, but I just think on the ground, Mighty Potter will probably get the better of him again. It'll probably be a bit of a repeat of the Drinmore, where we saw them. They were kind of met on soft to heavy ground that day, I think. But yeah, Mighty Potter, I think so far he's looked pretty faultless. But I do agree with Ed. I would have it in the back of my mind. He's won at Cheltenham last year, you know. And if you're kind of a fan of those kind of vibes, like if you look at John Bon, I mean, he was second to a very good horse. Mighty Potter flew out that day. You know, can he handle the occasion a bit better? I hope so. He looks a more mature horse now is the thing. I won't be backing against him, but I wouldn't be saying he's a banker either, just based on that experience last year. He'll have to grow on it, but I think he should, hopefully.
Okay, I think that kind of sums it up pretty nicely here for the Turners. Let's move on to the next card on the next race on the card, 210, the Potemps Network Final. Ed, I'll start with you here. Plenty to pick through once again, 24 going for this one. Just take us through your thoughts on this race.
Yeah, I'm 2v the field here, both from the home team. As an each way, the Itchy Feet for Ollie Murphy and Sean Bowen's a big old price. This horse has been rejuvenated by coming back over hurdles. The 9-year-old's off 143. Well, it's easy to forget he was a Grade 1 winning chaser as a novice. And he was sent off 7-2, second favourite to beat Sam Crow and Faheen. That tells you, that feels like a million years ago, doesn't it? Back in what was the Marsh Chase of 2020. But look, he's felt a lot happier back over hurdles. On his peak chase form, he's well treated. And I wouldn't be shocked, check your each way concessions. So, some firms will be playing 7 places, etc. But I think he's definitely an each way candidate. But my long term fancy for this, I'm glad Nico's chosen to ride him, is Walking on Air, one of my strongest handicap fancies of the week. I would put a little bit of an asterisk by it in the sense that soft ground would be an unknown. There's no evidence to suggest he won't handle it. It's just we don't really know. I mean, he bolted up on good ground last time out, and in his debut win was on a fairly decent surface. And he's never raced on soft, but I thought he used class last time out at Exeter. To start the season, Nicky Henderson said he thought this was his stayers hurdle horse. Things didn't materialise, mainly because he jumped like a snooker table. But last time I had Exeter, that was the key run, Joe. Pinged everything, came clear really nicely, and I thought, right, he's going to get absolutely smashed up by the handicapper. He got a £5 rise, while I think Nicky Henderson had been chuckling into his spring water on the back of that. Off 138 here. I think he's got a massive chance. I really do. Incredibly bred, sort of walk in the park. His Damra's Refinement, of course. That really good mare going back a decade or so ago. I think he's ticking all the right boxes. Each way, where are we, Joe? 13-2. You're kind of getting insurance on top 6. Your money back if he comes in the top third of the field or whatever. I really hope Walking on Air turning into the home straight. I don't think there'll be anything going as well as him. And obviously the whole complexion in this race, as Em will come to touch upon, has really gone west with Shoot First being scratched for this assignment in about 3-4 days notice, which has turned the race upside down. So yeah, Walking on Air for me, and again Itchy Feet I think could easily run into a place at a big price.
And Emma, for you, looking at the trends, I don't think the favourites do particularly well here. One favourite in the last 8 I think I saw.
Yeah, it's a tricky race. Just speaking of the trends, I think the Irish have dominated again. The 6 of the last 7 winners, I think, have been Irish, and Gordon Elliott in particular does very well in this race. He's trained 3 winners. Davy Russell has actually ridden 3 winners, but 2 were for Pat Kelly. I think if you remember presenting Percy and Maldini, I think, as far as I remember. And I'm going to go with a Gordon Elliott trained horse here again. I think the Boss's Oscar could have a big chance in this. He's high up in the weights, but he's got Ben Harvey taking a valuable £5 off. Ben Harvey, top class jockey. He has run off his UK mark to qualify in Musselburgh. He was 3rd that day, and I think he could be just getting primed for this one, to be honest. Look, he disappointed last year in the Coral Cup, kind of beaten out of sight that day, but he was 2nd in this race the year before that, and he ran very well in the Martin Pipe as well, his first experience at the Cheltenham Festival. So I just think he could be one. He's going to run a big race, I think, whatever happens. He's about 10-1, and as an each way bet, I think he'd be pretty solid. Can't see him being too far away, to be honest. But look, it's a wide open race. As Ed mentioned, Shoot First was a big bloated. I think he was kind of nearly everyone's fancy coming into it. Looked really laid out for it, but that's the way it goes, I suppose. Anti-post betting. Another one that I thought was missing was a Gavin Cromwell horse, which might be notable. It was a JP horse, Percival Legalo, I think is how you pronounce it, but he wasn't declared. So maybe that's a pointer towards David Pipe's horse. Thanks for the help. He ran a good race, I think, when I saw him in Punchestown at the festival. He was very fancied that day, and look, he went on to qualify for this kind of emphatic style in Chepstow. So look, he's going up and up in the weights, but it's hard to know where the improvement will stop. You'd have to have an awful lot of respect for him as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think the general advice here, when it is such a big field, is just to play smaller stakes, maybe compared to some of the races where we know a little bit more about the runners. So that's just more of a general punting tip. So let's move on then to the Grade 1 Ryanair Chase 250. So yeah, Ed, do you think Shishkin's going to turn up?
He's going to turn up. I'm starting to get a bit nervy if I'm a Shishkin fan. I just all this rain around, the kind of memories of last year, with the rain bouncing off the ceilings everywhere, rivers in the car park, and Shishkin pulling up after 2 fences. with the Amazonian rainfall hitting Presbury Parker. Look, he was phenomenal, wasn't he? On his comeback at Ascot, absolutely thumped them. I mean, you could pick up Artsell, pick Dorey, he's not quite top level, but he's beaten Fakadu to read nearly 25 lengths. So, I mean, that was old Shishkin and some. He's got to back it up only 3.5 weeks later on what could be relatively deep ground if we do get the upper end of this weather forecast. Just odds on would get me nervous. I've said this for a while. I really think Blue Lord is going to run a massive race in this. I've had quite a bit on him anti-post. I think he's a really fair each way shout here. I'm struggling to boot him out of the frame. I know that in many ways this feels a little bit like Plan B, but I actually think this is Plan A. They went to Plan B, and now they come back to Plan A, but the connections just pretended it's the other way round. Because what I'm saying is, on his seasonal reappearance, he went up to 2.5 miles to test his stamina for the first time in the Clonmel Oil Chase. And I thought he answered it emphatically. He was a little bit keen early doors, and I thought, right, well, that shows he's a 2-miler and he'll fall in a hole. But he didn't. He outstayed the stayer. You look at the horses he beat there. Tornado Flyer, previous King George winner, Darasso, a Pencil for the Lead. Some tough, hardy stayers. And I thought he outstayed them in the mud was absolutely flying at Clonmel November. I thought, wow, that's opened up a whole new avenue of options. Well, with Shaka Boursois and everything that happened, the kind of pack all got shuffled. And of course, by default, he kind of got thrust back into the 2-mile scene after winning at Christmas. I think this is his trip. I think he's just lost a little bit of zip in his early days. I think rain falling will really help him. I know he's versatile in regards to ground, but I think soft ground's no problem at all. I mean, he bolted up by 20 lengths when he got to genuine soft ground at Nace last year. I think he's going to give Shishkin a real race. So, look, Shishkin is as Shishkin was. He wins. But I'm not convinced by Shaka Boursois. I'm not convinced by French Dynamite. Fury Road's a lovely horse, but never wins. Hitman he'll go off in front, but he'll probably fall in a hole. When we actually start slicing through it, I don't think this is as deep race as perhaps we're led to believe. So, I'm Blue Lord each way, 11-2. I'll be disappointed if he's out of the mix.
And Emma, do you share that view, given the conditions, especially for Shishkin?
Yeah, I give Blue Lord a big chance. Echoes Ed's statements there, and the Clonmel Oil one was massive. I think kind of proved he did stay the trip. I would be worried about Shishkin on the ground, definitely. Look, if he shows up, it's probably the obvious thing to say. If he shows up, he wins. But I'm not totally convinced that he will back it up. I won't be having a massive bet against him, but I do fancy Fury Road each way. Look, I think he's drifting out to about 11-1, which I think is a brilliant each way price for him. He was very good last time behind Galopin Les Champs. He was nearly upsides him jumping the last fence, so I just thought it was a massive run. He's kind of a horse who's had a bit of a strange campaign, I suppose. He was very good as a novice hurdler. He was third in a very good Albert Bartlett behind Monkfish, I think it was. He wasn't beaten too far that day, but then he went stairs hurdling, which I think kind of made him a bit of a forgotten horse. But he's a good horse over fences. Maybe he doesn't win too often, like Ed said, but I think he's a pretty solid each way, bet at around 11-1. So that's probably the way I'm going to play this. I won't be backing Shishkin at that price, but wouldn't be surprised to see him hack up either. Ground is a worry for him, though. I definitely agree on that.
Yeah, I think the question I was thinking of as well beforehand was who would you rather confidently back at that price, Shishkin or Mighty Potter in the opener? Ed, I'll start with you with that one.
Oh, that is a stunning question. That's a really good. At the prices, on balance, I would go with Shishkin just because I think he's proven more through his career. Yeah, look, he has won on soft ground. The problem you're asking yourself is with all the issues he's had, is he going to spit the dummy out, or is he going to be able to repeat it? Mighty Potter, been brilliant this year, but it does just linger over me. The one time he got on the boat, he was deplorable. So very, very good question, that. Very good question. I'd be tentatively, almost hypocritically, with Shishkin, just because I think of all the favourites here, he has, his top level is a long way clear of the others. In regards to Mighty Potter, we perhaps don't quite know. There are still some unexposed sorts in there that if they have their day, they could narrow the gap. So yeah, marginally Shishkin. But anyway, Blue Lord beats him, so it doesn't matter.
Perfect. All right, let's move on to the big race of the day on day 3, the Stayers Hurdle. We've kind of alluded to it a little bit in the opener. But Emma, I want to start with you as well, just looking at, you went to Charles Burns earlier on in the year, or last year, looking at Blazing Coal. A lot of strong fancies for him. I've actually spoken to Robbie Power as well. He's keen on Tahupu. And then I think you've got some more, also some other views based on the people you've spoken to. So kind of who do you trust when you're actually looking at these races? Emma, I'll start with you and your breakdown of the race.
Yeah, I mean, look, there's so many of them with real life chances. Tiupu, I think the ground is really going to suit him. Getting soft, I don't think he'd want it like completely heavy, just given the 3 miles. But with soft ground, it's going to play to his strengths massively. It looks like a real stayers hurdle horse, but the one I've been on all along is Blazing Cal, and I'm going to stick with him. Well, all along I've probably been hopping between him, but my original pick, I suppose, was Blazing Cal. I thought he was brilliant last time in the Boyne hurdle. Very, very good. Uh, Charles got him here. I am just slightly worried about his comments. Look, take what you want about what he's saying, but he has said his preparation hasn't been totally smooth running. He didn't work great at the Cora last week, I think he was saying. So that would put a doubt in my mind. Just a bit of a doubt in my mind. Like there's so many of them you can really give like brilliant. Like Classical Dream even is probably maybe a forgotten horse in the field. He was just behind Tiupu in the Hatton's Grace when they beat Honeysuckle earlier on in the year. Obviously he hasn't had the easiest of preparations either, but has to have a real life chance on that form. Yeah, look, I'm going to stick with Blazing Cal, but I am worried just on the comments. But I'll stick with him now. I won't change. But yeah, it's a brilliant race.
I was going to say a lot of positives as well coming from Joseph O'Brien and JJ Slevin about Home by the Lee as well, right?
Oh yeah, they're very keen on him. I think it was comments from his groom in particular kind of warmed him to me. To be honest, it was kind of a few different things that they changed about. Just he's living in the stables. I suppose he moved to a different type of stable, and I think he got a new exercise rider. And with these horses can be kind of finicky, and these small changes could make such a massive difference to him. And he's just such an improver this year. You couldn't write him out of it. When they all stop galloping, he'll be still galloping at the end of the day. He's just such a dour stayer, and yeah, he has another massive chance. Didn't even get a chance to mention him, but yeah, that just kind of shows the depth of the race. There's so many in there.
That's it. I mean, that's the kind of insight that hopefully we're trying to bring here on Irish Racing as well. It's just a little bit more than just the bare form. It's actually behind the scenes, all these little things that can affect a horse. So obviously stay tuned for more videos that go behind the scenes a little bit more throughout the year. But Ed, I mean, this is a stacked contest, the Stayers Hurdle. What a renewal. Where are you going?
Yeah, incredibly wide open. And we haven't even mentioned the two-time defending champion yet. Flooring Porter, of course, who we've spoken about trouble preparations. Gavin Cromwell said, look, it hasn't been plain sailing, but he's here. He's in the lineup. Canny Danny's on board. They're going for the hat trick. Wow. I mean, yeah, look, I echo a lot of what Emma's saying here. Incredibly wide open. I'd be a little bit nervous about Blazing Cow if the rains really did get in. I know he won his bumper at Limerick on a bog, but it was lovely ground in Navan last time out. The couple of times he trekked over to Cheltenham beforehand were in very dry winters. I think it was officially good on the occasions he won here. If it turned into a real slog, he's got a horse of a lot of class and he travels well. That would make me slightly nervous. I think he's incredibly wide open. If pushed, I'm with Tahupu. I do like him. I know you could say, well, the form was rubbish last time out, beating a 23-year-old Somerville boy and some horses having a Grand National prep. But the step up to 3 miles on soft seemed to totally unlock him. Finding it hard to get him out of the frame. My heart would love to see Paisley Park have one last hurrah. I think he'll run a big one. All in all, I'm with Tahupu, but I'm starting to come around. I'm probably going to back the French horse here, Gold Tweet. I'm more and more I think about it, I'm starting to think there's a bit of French snobbery going on here. Like, if you believe the story that the lenders team and the owners were only in at Cheltenham for trials day because the owners fancied a weekend break in the Cotswolds. So they decided to run their horse Gold Tweet. He didn't even have an entry in the Stayers Hurdle. He bolts up as a pretty much unconsidered 14-1 poke, and then suddenly like, oh, hang on a minute, we might as well have a crack at this now. So he's been supplemented for the race. They've stumped up the thousands to get him in. And I watched that race back again last night. I mean, he absolutely waltzes around on the bridle like he's just jumped in, and then quickens up and goes clear on very soft ground. I'm starting to think, are we kind of being a little bit unfair to horse? Again, it's that old cliche, if he was trained by Willie Mullins and Nicky Henderson, he'd be half the price. But it probably is true in this case. There was no fluke about the way he won it last time out. He's totally unexposed over 3 miles, all his forms on soft ground. So I'm with Tahupu, If the rain does arrive, I'm going to play it late with Gold Tweet. If the rain's really getting the ground, I'm going to back Gold Tweet. I think it'll be ridden cold. Obviously, the jockey came over and had a good sighter at Cheltenham. He knows how to ride the course now. And yeah, I think he's probably a few points overpriced on the basis of what he did last time out.
Perfect. Well, yeah, pick apart what you will of that advice. I mean, there's plenty, make a case for most of these in the stayers, but what a race it promises to be. All right, let's move on then to the next race where, again, it's going to be one of those tricky ones to get through. 26 declared for the plate. Ed, I'll start with you and your thinking here.
I'm hoping it's not tricky because I've got very strong fancy in this. That's horse number 21, Ferrero Bombu, for Venetia Williams and Charlie Deutsch. Venetia's got a great record in this race. He's won it 3 times the last decade or so. Often goes well. Now, look, this horse was declared for the Grand Annual. Now, people who lead exciting lives, which isn't me, sit there making lists of where they like horses to go, what targets. Now, I've had this horse for the plate down for months. He was declared for the Grand Annual, but he got balloted out because he wasn't high enough in the weights. So I was like, yes, that's absolute machine. So what that means is he's got to go into the plate. I think that's an absolute blessing in disguise. I'm shocked, to be honest with you, that they were declaring him for the Grand Annual, but I think he's so well handicapped. He was third in last year's Grand Annual, off 141. They've got him in £6 lower this year, all his best form on soft ground. And I've been absolutely crying for him to go to 2.5 miles. He's yet to go to this trip. If you rewind the clock back to last year's Grand Annual, Global Citizen beat Andy Dufresne in heavy ground. Ferrero Bombu was last 3 out, and he passed 20 rivals at the running. He's just been looking outpaced over the minimum trip. So it does kind of baffle me as to why they thought about running him in the Grand Annual. To me, it's looked obvious he needs 2.5 miles. Maybe they think of a 2.5 on soft on the new course, he won't stay. But if you've ever seen a horse crying out for this trip, it's him. The Yard have got a stunning record in the race. He's £6 lower than when he was at the festival and he was placed last year, and all his forms on soft. He's got 10-6, Charlie Deutsch in the sauna. I'm absolutely, yeah, I'm all guns blazing. In theory, this should be pretty much the hardest race of the week, but I think this is a major claims here for the Venetia Williams stable, providing we do get that. The more the rain, the merrier, as far as I could see. Yeah, Ferrero Bombu, one of my strongest fancies, but definitely of the day, if not of the week.
Lovely, Ed. Yeah, strong view there. Emma, how about you? Have you picked out anything in this one?
Yeah, there's a lot of good horses in this. I think Damon Mullen's horse, so Scottish, has to be respected big time. They appealed his actual mark earlier in the week, and he got a pound taken off it. But look, Emmett's a very, I think it was JP's birthday as well, so it was a nice present for him. But Emmett's a very true trainer. Like he's been over to the UK with this horse a couple of times already, so he's shown he's very competitive off the mark. Look, he's probably a bit short for me though, to be honest. I think the hot on Callure for Willie is a very, very interesting one for me. Like this horse wouldn't be out of place at all in the Ryanair if he was to show up there. And I know he's got an awful lot of weight, but this is a very good horse. He probably should have won that Grade 2 chase at Thurles earlier in the year when he fell. Second behind Janadil last time, I think, but he wasn't too far behind. And Janadil has a bit of a chance in the Ryanair, so you're thinking that this fella, when if he's shown up for the plate, he'd have to have a good chance. He's ridden by the man of the moment, Michael O'Sullivan, taking £3 off. Look, he's a bit unreliable. Is probably my only voice with him. He doesn't win an awful lot, and does he always show up in the dates? I'm not too sure, but I think he's a fascinating runner, and at only 8-1, he's probably a pretty good each way bet. I know he has plenty of weight, but there's kind of a few horses who I was fancying who weren't declared for this as well. But one who does stand out a bit is That's All Right Gino for Jamie Snowden and Gavin Sheehan. I thought he was very, very good when he chased home Solo last time in Kempton. I think Solo got a bit of a freebie that day, so maybe he was a bit unlucky as well. Loads and loads of Cheltenham form, probably well enough treated here, and another each way bet. I think he has a massive chance. First time cheek pieces as well. If that can bring out any improvement, I think he should run a massive race. So yeah, it's probably the two of those for me in this. No, probably not as strong a fancy as Ed, but yeah, I think Hot and Clores is a very interesting one in this.
Yeah, some good each way selections, I think, here. Yeah, especially a strong view from Ed on that one. So yeah, nice one, Ed. And let's move on to the next one on the card. So the Jack de Bromhead Mares Novices Hurdle. Again, 21 declared. Plenty to pick through here. But Ed, do you see any negatives in Lucia in the favourite here?
Yes, it would be the new course and soft ground. I would have run her in the Supreme Novices. I think the old course and that relative test of speed. What I'm saying is, she's going to travel in the way Marine Nationale travels. If you see what I'm saying, she's not going to travel round like Champagne Fever travelled and tough it out. She's got a lot of class, a high cruising speed. This is the new course. This is 2 miles, 1 furlongs, more or less, and this could get potentially very testing the ground for a horse, a mare of such kind of class. It's just kind of going against her skill set to some extent. That's not to say she can't come through and win, but I think in part that's the reason why she's 13-8 and not knocking on 5-4. If you see what I'm saying, I think that's just got to be in the back of your mind, that she's done both the hurdles wins on spring ground. Look, she absolutely romped home in a bumper at Sandown when the mud was flying. But I just think this poses a different test, is what I'm saying. So I am with. We spoke about Jamie Snowden in an earlier race. I think You Wear It Well is a fantastic each way play here at 10-1. Gavin Sheehan on board. She's done very little wrong this season, hasn't she? I mean, she chased home Hermes Allen when runner-up in the Challow Hurdle. Of course, that form has worked out an absolute treat, hasn't it? In the sense that Passing Wales won, Marble Sands has won, Kilbeg Kings won, Crambo's won. I think there's about 900 winners come out of that contest. And last time out in the Jane Seymour at Sandown, tacky ground over 2.5, and she hit the turbo and flew up it. Look, she clearly stays well at this trip. That is not going to be a problem in conditions. And if you were being, absolute geek on collateral form and took it in the literal sense, well, the mare of Dan Skelton's She's a Saint was 7.5 lengths behind You Wear It Well at Sandown last time out. I think Lucia beat She's a Saint about 5.5 earlier in the season. So it doesn't always work out like that. But the point being, You Wear It Well is probably not as far behind Lucia on what's actually been achieved as the market would suggest. With Lucia, there's still a lot of potential factored into that price, which is perfectly plausible, perfectly fair. But I think You Wear It Well, Jamie Snowden having an absolute season to remember, isn't he? He really is. He's been firing in the big winners, landed that huge handicap at the Cheltenham Festival, at Cheltenham meeting in November, and he's having a wonderful season. So You Wear It Well. She loves soft. I think she's a knocking each way bet 10-1 personally, but respect the Irish challenge, including the horse. I think a lot of us would love to see go well would be Tony Mullins' mare, of course. Princess Zoe brings Group 1 flat form to the table, which is a totally different ball game. But You Wear It Well. Each way for me. I think she'll handle conditions. I think she'll give her running.
Well, that's exactly the horse I was going to ask Emma about, actually, Princess Zoe. Take us away your thoughts on the race and maybe a word on what Tony Mullins was telling you about Princess Zoe.
Yeah, I mean, Princess Zoe, the more rain, I know she is ground versatile. She's won on kind of all kinds of ground, but the more rain, the better for her, I think, as if it keeps bucketing down, a lot of these novice mares mightn't actually absolutely love it. Like, my big fancy in the race was Lot of Joy. I fancied her for quite a while for this, and happy to see Paul Townend up on her. It was probably a bit surprising Astro Diamond wasn't declared. Not really 100% sure why that was, but Paul Townend up on Lot of Joy is big plus. I think that Lucia doesn't. She could be anything, but she hasn't beaten a whole pile so far, which is what's putting me off her. She has to give £5 to a lot of these mares, which could be tough for her, especially in the conditions. But for my choice, Lot of Joy, the ground is probably going against her slightly. If it keeps raining, I don't think she'd love an absolute mud fest. I saw her with Eason at the media day earlier on in the year. She's a light framed filly, she's kind of flatbred. She's by Camelot, so I think nicer ground probably would suit her a bit better, which is making me a small bit worried. She's probably gone short enough in the prices now as well, just due to the fact that Paul Townend has chosen to ride her. Princess Zoe is probably looking more attractive by the day as the rain keeps falling. She's around 10-1, around about that price anyway. So the Group 1 form and the flat have to be respected. I think she wasn't overly impressive last time when she dead heated, but there's excuses for that. I think Tony said he was probably just a bit rushed to run her, and maybe he should have waited a bit longer. But I think she's come out of it very well. So yeah, it has to be respected. She's definitely an each way play, but my selection for while has been Lot of Joy. So even with the rain falling, I'll stick with her, but I am a bit worried about it, to be honest.
All right. Well, I'd love to see Princess Zoe win. Again, just on the back of that stable tour you did, I think, and the insight obviously the flat winner as well, moving over to Cheltenham Festival win, will be a great story. 14-1, by the way, with Bet365 Princess Zoe. All right, let's move on to the final race on day 3. So the Kim Muir for the amateur jockeys. And Ed, I mean, you're keeping a close eye on the jockey bookings, I think. So anything stand out here for you? And that's going to sway your thinking looking at the 5:30?
Nothing in that sense, Joe, but as you say, it's always worth paying attention to the jockey bookies in here. I mean, naturally, some of them sort themselves out, don't they? Like Mr. Incredible with Patrick Mullins, and obviously Stumptown, his horse Barry O'Neill on board, who's been incredibly popular and could easily be ahead of the handicapper. I'm pretty lukewarm on this race. I was looking at Ben Pauling's horse, he's got 2 in the race, but a Knight in Lambourne each way. Of course, this is a horse who's got good form at the track. Won here last time at Cheltenham. Over this similar trip to this, and previously to that was just touched off. My worry would be the ground. I was actually there at Worcester in the summer in August when Knight in Lambourne won, and I think if you'd said to them then, your mare Knight in Lambourne on the Worcester, it was the gin and fizz cocktail night at Worcester, just up the road, and when the Knight in Lambourne was winning the opener off about 2 stone lower on rattling quick ground, they would have said, "Oh, do you know what? You're lining up in the Kim Muir at the Cheltenham Festival." They would have thought I'd had one too many gins at that point. But no, look, a Knight in Lambourne is here. She's been my long-term fancy. Jack Andrews, a good jockey, a lot of experience. Knight in Lambourne has been pretty well supported for this race in recent days. Into around 12-1 now. I just would have massive reservations about her stamina over this trip on soft ground. If it was good ground, she has won on soft, but over much shorter distances. I think, 2 miles, that type of thing. This is asking a lot of her in terms of the old petrol gauge. That makes me worried. So I know I can't lie. I'm back to Knight in Lambourne's. There's the answer to your question. But I would worry whether I've been done for in regards to the ground with that anti-post selection. So I'll leave it to Emma to talk up which one of, I know where she's going. It's going to be Stumptown or Mr. Incredible, but I don't know which side of the fence. Put it that way.
Well, Emma, over to you.
I don't know about. I don't know. I'm kind of edging towards Gordon Elliott's Dunboyne. Gordon and Jamie Codd. They're kind of breaking the trend there. Gordon and Jamie Codd have such a good record in this race. I think Jamie Codd has won it 4 times.
Yeah.
And this horse, he was very. I thought he had a massive race in the Thyestes to be second to Appreciate It, and. Just looking through the field, like Mr. Incredible, look, he's a horse I like. I've been following him since he kind of went to Willies, but it's just, you never know what you're going to get with him. Even the last day in Warwick, he ran a funny race. He ran on with his ears pricked at the end, but he mightn't always give his full running, and he probably will need it here. You kind of probably thinking as well as this, maybe he's prepped for the Grand National. Probably his main target at the end of the day, not more so than the Kim Muir. So I'd have small worries about him, just temperament-wise as much as anything else. Stumptown, I have to have massive respect for him as well. Barry O'Neill being booked is eye-catching. Brilliant jumper. Only a 6-year-old, so there could be any kind of level of improvement left in him. Kind of a worrying trend. I was looking it up last night. There was kind of, I think only 2 of the last 19 runners have won on their previous outing, which is kind of a strange one. But this fella's going for the hat trick, which I don't know. Do you care much about that trend? Looking at it, look, Gavin Cromwell put him up as one of his horses to follow when I met him last week at Leopardstown. So yeah, I've big respect for him, but I'm probably gonna. He's probably short enough. I'm probably gonna play Dunboyne each way. I think he's probably the bet for me in this one.
Great stuff. And again, I mean, if you're not overly confident, again, play smaller stakes than perhaps when you are more confident. Simple advice here for irishracing.com viewers. But just to sum up then, today's best bets of the day for day 3. Ed, can you have yours, please?
Yeah, Ferrero Bonbu in the plate.
And for you, Emma?
I'm going to go for Lot of Joy in the Mayor's Novice.
Perfect. And always as well, comment below with your best bets of the day. Also subscribe to the YouTube channel for more videos coming from irishracing.com. Thanks, Emma. Thanks, Ed, for your advice today. We'll be back again tomorrow for previewing day 4 of the Cheltenham Festival, the Gold Cup day, of course. But that's it for today's show. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you again very soon.